I am Anna Seawold, and this is Authentic Parenting, a podcast about personal development in the context of parenting, where I explore how you can find more calm, connection, and joy in parenting through the process of self-discovery and inner growth with a trauma-informed lens. Today's episode is an on-air coaching call. I am helping Jackie, a working mom of a 3-year-old boy. Some of the themes we explore are Jackie's anxiety. She has struggled with anxiety and depression most of her life, but the conditions worsened during pregnancy, and after birth, they became more uncontrollable. Work-motherhood balance. Is it even attainable? Guilt, how to cope with it, and worthiness. Jackie has a demanding, high-pressure job in a stressful work environment, but she loves it as she gets a lot of validation and fulfillment from it. Does she get similar gains in motherhood? We go deep. We uncover some underlying issues and surprising things for Jackie to think about. Parenting is a relationship, and for many career, task, achievement, performance-oriented people, it can be very frustrating and challenging to be a parent, as there are no performance reviews in parenting and no immediate results. There are no measurements of our quote-unquote performance. Many parents get stuck in what I call the performance trap. You get to hear all about it in this episode. I really liked this episode as Jackie speaks about issues that a lot of parents face and go through. This is one episode you don't want to skip or fast forward. Her honesty, her presence, her sharing, her vulnerability is so refreshing. I just love my community members. If you would like to participate in an upcoming coaching episode, it's free and there are no prerequisites or obligations. Simply fill out a short application, which you can find at authenticparenting.com/coaching, and I'll get in touch. On-air coaching calls are one-time, unscripted sessions. If you do not want to be coached publicly on the podcast, but you want my support, you can work with me. I am now accepting one-on-one coaching clients, and I would be thrilled to serve you. So don't hesitate. Head over to my website, authenticparenting.com/services to learn more. And as a listener of the podcast, you always get a discount, a 10% discount on all of my services. Just send me an email and we'll get started. I know how popular the on-air coaching episodes are. That's why I have created a special playlist on Spotify. It's called On-Air Coaching Episodes of Authentic Parenting Podcast. And now, please enjoy this fantastic on-air coaching call with Jackie. Well, Jackie, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for signing up for the on-air coaching call.
Well, thank you for offering it.
Yes. Why don't you tell us then, who is Jackie? How many children do you have? What are their ages? And we'll get started.
So I have a 3-year-old son. He's just a little bit over 3, and he's really good, pretty relatively easy kid, actually. I work full-time, mostly outside of the house, as a consultant. So I do a lot of commuting, and I have kind of a lot of work stress. But my husband also works full-time outside of the house, and we kind of share the workload at home, and that's kind of the basics of our family, and we have a dog and a cat. We just got the dog, so my son is very excited and a little bit jealous. So.
It's interesting. Yeah. I feel like when people get a dog, everything sort of turns upside down in their households.
It does.
Especially if it's a puppy you have to train or, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, what kind of challenges do you face currently in your motherhood? What would you like to discuss today? And hopefully we can find together some new ideas, or by just talking and sharing. I feel like it will be even helpful just to share out loud, and you will develop your own insights and perspective yourself.
Hmm. Sure. Yeah. So my main struggle with motherhood is I've always had some level of anxiety and depression, and then I got postpartum anxiety and depression, and ever since it's never fully resolved. It's just been elevated. So we try to do respectful parenting, and that means writing out his feelings and dealing with a lot of triggers. And when you're dealing with your own sort of mental illness or elevated sensitivity to those triggers, it can be really difficult to ride that out with him, and also to find the time to recover for myself.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge. A lot of us experience, definitely. Have you done any work in the past, such as therapy? I don't know, yoga, that kind of stuff. Any alternative medicine type of thing?
I do. I do go to. Have therapy a couple times a month, which is really helpful. And I meditate. I try to exercise is hugely beneficial, and sleep is a big one. So I try to do all of those things. It can be hard to take care of yourself in the throes of taking care of everything that needs to get done. So I definitely struggle with that, but I do try to do the things that I think everybody knows are helpful, just whether or not I get around to doing it. And I notice the difference when I don't. But
Mm. Did you get help? Let me ask you, did you get help with postpartum depression?
I did, yes. My midwife's office referred me to a therapist, which ended up not being a good fit for me. But I found another therapist that's a really good fit, and I got help, and I got a psychiatrist as well. So getting all the right help, but it takes a lot of time to get it worked out and to get the right combination. So
Mm. And
yeah.
that frustrates you this period.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Do you
Yeah.
physically feel symptoms, or is just this emotional frustration?
I do. It's very physical, just exhaustion, just
Mm.
exhaustion, and some aches and pains. The physical pieces that come with it, and then with depression, and then with anxiety. When the anxiety is elevated, I describe it like there's a vice grip around your heart or your throat, like there's like just something holding it tight.
Yep,
Um,
I know that very
so,
well. Yes, I hate that feeling. The way you're describing it is really good. But I was feeling that this morning, and I was trying to breathe and do some meditation, and boy, it was getting worse.
yeah, yeah.
And I was getting overwhelmed, and I'm like, am I getting a heart attack? What am I doing here? It's yeah, it
Hmm.
could be scary. So you struggled with anxiety and depression all of your life, is that so?
Yeah, at least since like middle school and high school, as far as I can remember, I've dealt with it to different degrees, and I've always coped with it. But it was after after becoming a mother, or like even during the pregnancy, that it really started to get more uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, what does it look like today? How often do you get a panic attack? Describe your anxiety, and do you feel it every day? What does your life look like living with depression and anxiety?
I remain pretty like highly functional because I do the things that I need to get done. I still go to work. It's a lot of struggling in the background. It's like the anxiety often presents itself as being really easily agitated or like overwhelmed when I'm in a situation that's either stressful, or when I'm out in like large groups of people, it kind of like rears its head, and I get very uncomfortable and overwhelmed. So I have to kind of know when to withdraw, or it just gets worse. The more I ignore it, the worse it gets. So I can end up dealing with it for a few days at a time, where it's just kind of like that tight chest feeling for, a few days in a row, getting very overwhelmed. The depression is presents itself as a lot of self-judgment, a lot of worrying, and physically just very tired. Like when I put my son to bed, I don't have a lot of energy to stay up more than like half an hour past him, and then I go to bed too, because I just don't have any more energy to even do something passive like watching TV. I just am tired. And then you get up and you do it all over again. And sometimes it gets worse. And there's days where I'm very, very tearful. And then there's days when it's okay. It comes in little waves. But
wow, is your
yeah,
job demanding?
it is. It is. Yeah. It's a high pressure environment, and what I do is not always, it's not usually conducive to a work-life balance. I'm in a good, I have a good situation for what it is, but it's still, it's a stressful environment, and I have to be always on. That's the hardest part, I think, is um, I have to be on point and um, you know, perceived as the expert kind of at all times. So it feels more guilt-ridden to try to take days off or to have an off day. So it's really, you just got to push through it.
So you basically have no control or choice over your work life?
I mean, if I stay in the field and company that I'm in, then yeah, I go where I'm needed, and I work the schedule that the client needs from me, and we do what the client needs. So it's really, we're beholden to what is needed of us. I could probably get a more regular job if I wanted to, but that's also daunting.
How fulfilled are you at your job? Do you feel like this is the right fit for you? You are fulfilled, you are using your talents and your skills, and you're getting joy or some other kind of benefit from it? Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you describe your situation?
Overall, like, generally speaking, I love what I do. It's really been a passion of mine for like 8 years. I've been doing this and getting better at it, and getting more involved in it, and in and out of work by joining like societies and volunteering, and so I'm really embedded in it, and I love the work that I do. right now I'm in a lull at work, so I'm not feeling very fully utilized or very fulfilled. But the nature of consulting is that will change probably sooner rather than later. So you just kind of ride with it. But overall, I do love what I do.
It could be anxiety provoking, that unknown period, right? Waiting, especially if you're prone to anxiety, the unknowns, the no work, the limbo periods. I don't know. How do you handle those periods?
It is. It's really, it can be very anxiety provoking, knowing that I can be pulled from one client to another, or not knowing like where you're going to be. It can definitely be anxiety provoking, so it may not be the wisest decision for me to have gotten into it. But it's really satisfying work. The work is challenging and meaningful, and so it comes with its pros and cons, but that's definitely anxiety provoking.
Yeah, if you were to put the anxiety on one side of the scale and the other things that you gain from working there, from it, right? Being useful, validation from what you do, and I don't know what else you get from it, right? Like internal sense of contributing. If you put all of those gains on one scale and the anxiety, the uncertainty, the no breaks, the no vacations or free time on one scale, what's the balance there?
Yeah, that's really it's a good question. And it's something that I struggle with quite a bit. There's on one hand, I get a lot out of the job and the work that I do, and there's another part of me that doesn't want to admit that I probably should pull back from my career for a while until I get through this season. Whether that means taking a less stressful job or something, but yeah.
What do you get particularly if you were to put into words? I know I'm just challenging you on the spot, but what kind of meaning, fulfillment, what does it give you, the job?
I get creative outlet. I get challenge. I definitely get professional validation, and I get to be around other people who are also passionate about the same thing, and a group of highly skilled professionals who I can go to with questions, and so there's a support network there, a professional support network. Yeah, there's a sense of community that comes with having connections to other professionals in the same area.
And what does it give you? Let's say you're connected, you have the support. What does that translate into internally?
Yeah, it's, I guess, a sense of community and identity that is linked to my professional identity. And which is, the professional identity is the part of me that existed before I was a mother, and that I kind of hold tight onto now.
Are you afraid? Are you afraid to let go? Are you scared of the unknown, who you might become, the new identity? Motherhood changes us, right? Definitely.
It does, and there is a definite part of me that doesn't want to lose grip with that piece of like the old me. And then there's yeah, my career was an important part of me before, and I don't want to lose that. And it remains an important thing to me. So I struggle with how much of it to uh, sacrifice to feel better and to relieve some of the pressure in other areas.
What's harder, motherhood than your job? It's not. Yeah, it's a good question. If you had a choice, would you choose this motherhood, the duties, the tasks, the chores, the tediousness, and the repetitiousness, the sleepless nights, and everything that comes with motherhood? I can understand, right? Why your job in your job, you're this amazing, smart, productive, efficient career woman. People respect you, people listen to you, you make a contribution, you make a difference, you see results. It's everything of the opposite of what parenting is, right? I think this is a common struggle for a lot of career women when they enter into motherhood, because they were project oriented, task oriented, get things done, go getter women, type A, achievers. And we let our jobs define us, right? Because you were a working career woman for a longer time than you are a mom. And so that becomes hardwired identity. And it's kind of hard to let that go, because this other area, this motherhood, doesn't give those fulfillments or gains that your job does. And some people have this hard time consolidating the two worlds, right? You are either torn between the two roles, or like
Yeah.
yourself, you're holding on to your old identity.
And I do feel torn. Like it's, I think the hardest part of it is the loss of identity is there, and then there's this you can't give 100% in everything. Something has to give, and finding where that give and take is in the appropriate times for it. Because at the end of the day, my son and my family are the most important thing, but sometimes you have to be all there for work too. And it's kind of, like you said, like type A, like, how do I let go of this idea of perfectionism and like just learn where to like let things go so that I can be more present for both pieces of my life.
That's a hard balance. And I think balance is not even the right word. We can never achieve balance, but some kind of harmony between the two worlds. You have to find some workable ratio that is fulfilling to you.
Yeah.
But what did motherhood give you? How did your sense of self change?
It's indescribable. There's just so much love and fulfillment, and like watching like all the little moments and re-experiencing everything for the first time with them. It's an incredible journey, and you don't want to miss any of it. Yeah, I just get so much love from that little boy.
Do you feel like...
And it's hard.
Yeah, of course it's not easy. Definitely. It's not easy. Did you want to become a mother?
I did, yeah.
So you planned, you expected it. Was it everything that you imagined it would be?
It was the birth experience was different from what I had envisioned for myself, but it's been I think it's been more than I expected it to be, and it's been more just more fulfilling and more, I want to give more to it than I kind of like, I don't know how to say this. I didn't anticipate how much of me it was going to take and how much of me I would want to give. So I kind of, went into it thinking that I would go on maternity leave and it would all be great, and then I'd go back to work and that would be an easy transition for me, and it was not. I wanted to stay home longer than I had, and so becoming a mother was everything that I thought it was going to be. What was different than what I thought it was going to be was my experience returning to work. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. How different was it? What was the shock or the unexpected stuff?
Oh, it was I had no idea how much missing milestones or moments, missing just time, and the guilt that was going to come along with the fact that my mom or my mother-in-law were the ones taking him to play groups and story times and seeing these moments as he was, going through an infant, go through all these changes and milestones constantly. And I'm at work for the majority of the waking day. And then, you come home and grandmas get to experience all this stuff during the day. And then I come home and make dinner and do bedtime and go through the grind of it. And I didn't realize how much that was going to be difficult. And it gets easier as he gets older, in a lot of ways. But there's still the grind is still there, and he's still spending most of his time at preschool. But at least now that he's at preschool, he's supposed to be spending his time at preschool, right? It feels more socially acceptable than missing out on his infancy.
Oh, wow. So you had guilt. You have tremendous guilt. That's basically mother's maternal guilt. But do you feel like you don't have that sense of guilt when he's in preschool, but when he was being taken care of grandma's, you had the guilt more? Is that so?
Yeah. And it might just be, that preschool is more something that they're supposed to be doing.
No, I can argue. I can argue that. I can argue that. Do you feel like they were judging you for your choices? The mother and the mother-in-law, was there overt anything, or this is your own perception, and they didn't say anything? Maybe they gave you a look. Maybe they were conversations. Yeah. I don't know. Did they contribute to the sense of guilt in some way?
Not intentionally. I mean, it was more, there were like subtle comments, but it's more out of the, like, they got to, or they made the choice to stay home, with their kids, and they realized the struggle. They, both were working part-time when they were, new mothers, but it's just different. And so the comments were definitely not intended to make me feel guilty. A lot of the guilt was my own.
Yeah, and times were different back then. Women didn't have much work, or they worked part-time. And just because you're working outside the house does not mean you're a bad mother. You can spend 24/7 with your kids and not be a present, caring, nurturing mother, like a full present. And it's impossible too. It's not, this is all an internal guilt, right? It doesn't have to, that's what you have to figure out for yourself, this battle between the two worlds, and make peace with it,
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question then. What makes you a good mother in your own eyes? If you were to write down 5 things.
I'm
I know it's not easy. Yes.
yeah, I mean, I try my best. I'm there for him. I work really hard to be present. I'm very like giving, caring. I don't know. This is a really hard question.
Yeah, I bet you do other things. You have to think about it. What would your son say if he could articulate?
Yeah, I think he loves that whenever he asks me to play with him, I always say, of course, I'd love to play with you. I'm always there when he wants something. We do a lot of things together as a family on weekends, and he loves that time together. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah. Why? What's the hardest part? Do you feel like you got nothing, or the things that you want to mention you think are not significant?
I mean, it all feels very normal stuff. I mean, he's got I guess what we're providing a normal, happy childhood. We try to be there for him. We're providing more means than our parents had, which is a different kind of lifestyle and a different kind of challenge. And we emotionally available as much as we can be, and it just feels it's all kind of normal. We're trying to provide a good normal childhood.
Normal by whose standards? No, I'm just asking by the society's expectations. Do you think this is the norm in every household?
Yeah, I guess normal is a bad word. Normal is a loaded word.
Why do you why do you minimize your experience?
Yeah,
by saying it's normal stuff. Oh, it's normal stuff. I just love him. I play with him. I do this. But that's normal. It's expected. And
I don't know.
You didn't say the same stuff about your job, right? You were like, I do this, I get this. You had more ownership when you were speaking about your job, more conviction, maybe, more confidence. But here you're trying to sort of, well, let's no, I think you need to pause and give yourself credit. And maybe that's the part that internally you struggle with, that you said you have negative self-talk and judgment, and you criticize yourself for not being a good mother, even though and this is why it's hard for you to come up with things to mention that you are a good mother in your own eyes. Who is there to say no, you're not? Oh, that's a silly thing you're doing. Oh, you're mentioning that. No one is going to judge that. Because for us, I think learning to, every mom, every dad, I really encourage people to do this exercise, to give yourself credit. What are the things that you do that make you a great parent in your own eyes? And take ownership and sink into that and say, pat on your shoulder and say, yes, I'm doing this. It's not easy, but I am. And I'm proud of it, that I'm able to do this better than my parents. By working full time, I am doing this.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely minimize that. Feels like I'm never good enough on my parenting. And I don't know. I don't know why.
Why? Exactly. Why? Do people expect things from you? Do you expect yourself?
Oh, I expect it of myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no there's no performance reviews, there's no bonuses, there's no um, none of the like ways that you get used to finding out that you're doing a good job.
That you said it so
I
well.
just have
Yes.
I have a really good little boy, a happy little boy. I guess that's how I know I'm doing a good job.
Oh, good, good. I'm happy you said that. By looking at your boy, but how about internally yourself? Also look at yourself too, and say a few things about yourself. It's not a performance. I think sadly, that's what I was speaking about in the beginning. When we come from careers and having jobs and projects and things like that, motherhood, it's just you have to go with the flow. There's a lot of unknown and chaos, and enjoy the present moment. Your child is looking at the leaf for like 20 minutes and holding a bug, and asking you to read the same book like 30 times. And if you're used to getting things done, you're going to have a feeling of, this is nonsense. I'm wasting my time. What am I doing? And then you're going to be irritated and demand that your child stop asking you for things, rush your child. As opposed to, I think the opposite should be happening. You dropping into the present moment and joining your child and enjoying life and being there present. I think, and forgetting the tasks. Like, parenting is not a result oriented thing. It's an experience, it's a relationship. How can we make every day beautiful, joyful, calm, and enjoy one another? I think that mentality, that mindset shift is so crucial. Switching from that working mom mode, and not viewing the life and our child and their childhood and our relationship as something to be managed from outside a project, and there are no returns, there are no immediate results, right? It's very unknown. I think being okay with that and saying to yourself that this is the thing, this is the process that I have to enjoy because it's very short.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and really, that the rather than driving through and getting all of the tasks that need to get done in the busyness of the day. I mean, those are the moments that I need to take more advantage of, and kind of slow down and drop into. I can definitely be a little bit of a taskmaster, although I try really hard to go at his pace as much as I can.
Because it's easy to be a taskmaster, right? You master something, you feel good right away. But this parenting thing, it's a long haul. You don't see the immediate result. And it could be triggering for many people who are task oriented, result and getting things done. But I think we need to relinquish that completely in order to enjoy parenting more. Maybe set an intention. Set an intention for yourself for the week. Let's say choose a word and say, this week I'm going to focus on peacefulness, calm, and creating calm in my life, in my home, in my relationships. Next week, I'm going to focus on presence. Set an intention for the week and put it on a word, write it down somewhere, make that a wallpaper on your phone so that it reminds you to drop into the present moment or to do the thing that you want to set an intention. I think when we set an intention, it's really orienting, as opposed to we're floating through life and life kicks us here and there, throws us here and there, and we get up and do the things that needs to be done, and then life is over one day.
Yeah.
what triggers you then? You mentioned triggered in the beginning. I want to address that.
Yeah, it's the writing. So there's kind of like two kind of moments where I really struggle with, and one is when I'm trying to get things done and I am getting pulled in the other direction by my son, and I feel like I should be with him, but I need to get this other thing done, and I started to get really just overwhelmed and then easily agitated from there. And that's kind of, I try to avoid that as much as I can, where when he's home and awake, I'm with him. But, sometimes like there's been a few snow days and he's got to be home from school while I'm still like trying to work. And that gets really, really difficult when I'm getting pulled in multiple directions that way. And then I get very anxious, and I have a really hard time recovering from that. And then, the other thing is kind of like when I'm trying to ride through his big emotions, and he gets scared or has a tantrum, try to like validate his emotions, which just kind of means sitting with it and letting him feel it, where you innately you don't want to let them be sad and go right through their emotion. You want to make them feel better. So I get triggered watching him feel bad and then not doing anything about it. Or when he's riding through my like not letting him see my anxiety so that it like doesn't affect him.
So the two situations that you described, his big feelings and your desire to want to, as a person who is an achiever, right? This career woman, you want to fix. You don't want to have this thing. And then when your son is pulling you, and you want to get things done. It's the same theme, you wanting to get things done, to be productive, because that gives you a sense of maybe accomplishment, worth. I don't know. I would love to explore what getting things done equals what for you. What do you get out of it? What does that feeling look like for you?
Yeah.
Who is that Jackie? When you get things done, what's the sense that you have?
Yeah. How I show my value. It's, I guess, part of my worth is derived from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's big. I mean, when you say that and you pause for a moment, what's the feeling that rises in you, in your body?
And that's kind of a sad thing to say, that I need to show my value in that way. Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah. Do you want to change it? Do you want to change it? Do you feel like you can't? What's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I just would feel worthy just being there, rather than having to constantly try to show
and
show my worth.
And where did you learn this pattern? That you had to,
I don't know,
perform or show results? Were you in sports when you were young? Did your parents have high academic standards for you? Were you pushed? Were your parents perfectionistic in some ways, high expectations? What was it like?
Yeah. I mean, my parents had high expectations, and we did get rewarded for academic performance. And my parents, I don't think that it took a lot to make me into like a perfectionist. My parents will say like we never had to give you any, we never had to get on your case about a bad grade because you were already doing it to yourself. But yeah, I mean, it was important in my family to be academically successful, which just translates, into career performance. That kind of stays with you. But I've always, I don't know where exactly it came from. I know that my mom has commented that I've always been kind of that way.
And so, of course, there is no performance report in parenting, in motherhood. So it's hard to gauge whether you are on point, whether you're doing good, whether how are you doing. Do you want to know, like, do you question yourself? Am I a good mother? Am I doing it good? Or do you compare yourself and say, nah, that person does it better? Like, what's your theme? What's this underlying theme in your mind?
I always judge myself and have guilt or worry about the little things day to day. But then when I objectively look at it, I mean, I think, yeah, I am doing a good job. I mean, my husband are doing a good job. It's when I get lost in the minutia that I'm not falling. I'm not feeling like I'm hitting all of the targets. But then it's, really, when I objectively look at it, overall, everything is really good.
Yes. Sink into that.
I get lost in the not doing the laundry, or the dishes are dirty, or
that's never going to be finished.
I know.
And if you're going to focus on that, well, then you're always going to be in this constant hamster wheel. And what targets are you trying to talk about? I want you to switch your mindset from this corporate view of motherhood into, what is motherhood? Define motherhood or parenting in one word.
In one word, it's love.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Caring.
Can love be measured?
No.
Yes, that's it. There is no performance for love. Even though, what would help you? I'm just curious. What will help you to sort of work on this mindset gradually? Because it's not going to be one day, I'm not going to be task oriented, performance oriented. It's not going to be, let's be realistic. But what can help you, do you think, knowing yourself, when you catch yourself in those moments, what could you do to remind yourself that this is not a competition, that this is not a performance, that this is a relationship, that this is an experience. Let me drop and enjoy. What could you do for yourself to switch that for yourself?
I think maybe some way to remind myself of some kind of something that will remind me to think of that bigger picture, and something, ways to drop into the present moment. I think that, meditation and mindfulness practice is really helpful in that, realizing that I'm getting carried away. But I wonder if there's some kind of reminder that I can have that to stop thinking about the little tasks and things that need to get done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to think about that bigger picture.
Yeah, because that is part of our daily parenting, the laundry, the cooking, the pickups, the drop-offs and activities. Yes, that is part of our life, but it's not all of it, right? And if you measure your worthiness or how well you're doing as a mother based on those tasks, then I think you're going to be in this hole. I mean, it's just depressing just to think about it. If we measure then everybody will fail first and foremost, all of us. I think we would all fail. That's the thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those things are never actually done.
we would never measure up. So those are artificial metrics, unnecessary and ridiculous. And I think sometimes being a rebel and not doing those things just to prove that I'm choosing to play a game with my son, and heck, my laundry is there and I have to do this and that, but I'm enjoying this moment and fully try to enjoy without any guilt, because that is the most important moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think your triggers will go away if you switch this kind of thinking and move into this kind of more into this kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah, if I stop thinking about the next thing that that needs to get done, then it would be a lot less anxiety provoking.
And I think what I would even suggest is to find ways of boosting your own sense of self-worth by not performance or doing things or not even your job. Finding that true, authentic nature. Who are you? What gives you joy? What makes you feel worthy? I think that's the piece I would love for you to work on, so that you don't have to divert into this old pattern of, when I'm doing the tasks, I'm feeling good because I just finished this. Wow. Therefore, because that's a false type of self-worth. And if you remove those things, if you remove your job, who you would be without your job?
Without my job, then I'm a mom.
And
and an artist.
And an artist, yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell me about your art. When I asked in the beginning, I didn't forget. I said, what do you get out of your job? The first thing you said, and we can rewind, you said creative outlet. And now you're telling me you're an artist, and this is coming up now. Hello. How are you not using your artistic abilities and finding a creative outlet, and you're getting it through your job? What kind of art are we talking about?
Painting. I paint I used to paint a lot, and now I paint a little.
You're going to paint more. You're going to paint more. That's what I'm going to ask you to do, because you have to find things that give you fulfillment and joy just for the heck of it, because that's who you are. You enjoy art and you're good at painting, and you're going to paint weekly, daily. I'm not sure. You have to make that decision. And your son is going to see that this is a happy mommy who has an outlet, and it's going to give you joy by doing something fun for yourself. And there's no purpose. You're not going to have a one-man show or an exhibition. You're just going to paint because it's fun and joyful, and it gives you a creative outlet. I think I want you to do those kind of things for yourself more and more, that are not tasks, that are not performance related, measurable things, but they're just fun and soul enriching.
Yeah.
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 Do you promise to start painting?
I will. Well,
Okay.
and now because I've told you I will, then I will.
Okay. Oh boy. Mm. What?
Yeah, no, I do need to paint more. Yeah, I will. I always feel a little lighter when I do it.
Yes. That's what you have to do. You have to connect to your true nature and what makes you feel more you and joyful. Your worth is not tied up to those jobs and performances and all of that. It might seem like it, and we make it sometimes about that. But I don't know. What are you taking away from our conversation?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take away that. Well, first of all, I'm gonna have to, start. I'm gonna come up with something like to help me, like a little reminder to drop into the present moment. And then, like, maybe I'll wear a ring, and because I fiddle with rings, whenever I wear that ring, then I touch it, then I'll think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that that'll help me just like remember to just be there until it becomes more of a habit. And then I'm gonna do some of the stuff that is more part of like the authentic me, like the painting, and yeah. And I need to not base my worth on getting those things done. So look at that bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think that's the piece. Like, I would love for you to maybe work with your therapist or think yourself a little more, reflect on this again. How can you increase that sense of self-worth, outside of those performances, career, job, and outside of those things, that internal sense of goodness and worth and I am enough. So that's like, I would love for you to explore that. And then it will give you fulfillment more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe set intentions for the week, how you want to feel and be with your son and with your family.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And let go of the guilt, whatever you have to do. When the guilt shows up, just look guilt in the eyes and say, you know what? Thank you for showing up, but I don't need you right now. Get away. Get out of my way. I don't know what you could do to battle with that guilt, but hopefully you can kick the guilt out of your path.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart for showing up so bravely and speaking about, life, work balance and guilt and fulfillment and self-worth. I think these are all very important topics everybody grapples with.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wish you best of luck, and hopefully next year we can do an update at the end of the year to see where you're at, what you incorporated in your life and how your life is going. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of the Authentic Parenting Podcast. I just love this episode. We have touched upon so many topics that are so relevant and real for many modern moms and dads. I would love to hear your takeaways and your struggles. So let's continue the conversation in our private Facebook group. I want to know what resonated with you. Are you stuck in the performance trap? Do you struggle with unworthiness? How do you cope with guilt? Again, if you would like to sign up to be featured on the on-air coaching call, please find the application in your show notes or go to authenticparenting.com/coaching. It's free, and again, no prerequisites or obligations are required. Follow me on Instagram, the only social media platform I use and somewhat enjoy. For show notes, contact info, and everything else, As always, visit authenticparenting.com. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, and review it on Apple Podcasts. And as always, connect to the present moment, to yourself and your children. Until next week, I am Anna Seewald. Thank you so much for listening.